Welcome to ANADARKO Petroleum Corporation. At ANADARKO, we strive every day to ensure a safe and healthful work environment for you and the people around you. We'll provide the necessary resources to implement effective training, health, safety, and environmental programs. All of our operations, including E&P production, midstream operations, drilling, and completions, strive to maintain compliance with all federal and state regulations and standards, protect the health and safety of employees and contract personnel, and protect our environment. We'll do whatever it takes to make your experience with ANADARKO a safe and productive one. HSE Culture. To perform work for ANADARKO, it's important to know about our Live Safe culture and life-saving rules. Through our Live Safe culture, we want you to know the only work worth doing is work done safely. Live Safe consists of 4 core principles necessary to work safely: your attitude, your everyday actions and planning, our shared values, and our standardized approach. Our safety culture requires you to strictly adhere to our 8 life-saving rules. Following these common sense rules will ensure each of us goes home to our family at the end of each workday. Please read each of these rules carefully. Driving. Wear your seatbelt. Do not speed. Do not use mobile devices. Working at height. Protect yourself and others against a fall when working at height. Confined space entry. Do not enter a confined space without authorization. Bypass safety controls. Obtain authorization before bypassing safety controls. Suspended loads. Do not walk under a suspended load. Follow safe lifting operations. Ground disturbance. Obtain an authorization before starting ground disturbance activities. Energy isolation. Verify isolation and zero energy before work begins. Hot work. Isolate fuel and control ignition sources. APC spill policy. As part of Live Safe and as a way to protect the environment, ANADARKO also has a zero spill policy for produced fluids, including all hydrocarbon fluids, refined products, and chemicals involved in fluid transfers and fluid handling. All fluid hauling companies are required to meet federal and state permitting requirements for the product being transported. For example, the Texas Railroad Commission requires you to have a permit to haul waste. Your vehicle must have your company logo and waste hauler permit number. It should appear on both sides and the rear of the vehicle in characters at least 3 inches high. Truck loading and unloading. This includes loads from tank to truck to tank, or tank to tank. If you're using a subcontractor, you're required to notify ANADARKO of this decision and ensure all personnel have completed the appropriate training. ANADARKO's goal is to have zero fluid spills, and we expect contractors to have the same goal. PPE. For your safety and the safety of others, you are required to wear appropriate personal protective equipment while working at this ANADARKO facility. These items include FRCs that fully cover your arms and legs, hard hat, safety glasses with side shields, safety-toed footwear, 4-gas monitor, and hearing protection where applicable. Fire-resistant clothing must be worn over cotton or wool clothing. Synthetic fabrics such as polyester and nylon are not permitted. General rules. As you begin your work transporting fluids for ANADARKO, keep these general guidelines in mind. Make sure you carry the proper equipment with you. This includes a spill kit, operational fire extinguisher, and 2-pound rubber or non-arcing or sparking maul on your truck at all times. Take time to perform a 360-degree check of your truck prior to driving. Always respect landowners and follow speed limits. Smoking is prohibited except in designated areas. No open flames, lights, or non-intrinsically electronic safe devices are allowed within the facility's classified areas. This includes cell phones, Bluetooth devices, computers, vehicles, or stationary equipment. Cell phones must remain in the vehicle. You must carry your SafeLand card at all times. Obey lease road and facility signage. Arrival. When arriving on location, follow these important measures. Midstream facilities and drilling and completion sites may require additional permits upon arrival. Conduct an on-site job safety analysis, or JSA, and review other operations on location that could affect fluid transfer. Park your truck outside of on-site delineation markers. Set brakes, chock tires, and electrically ground your truck. All loading and unloading procedures shall have proper grounding. Check your current weather conditions and wind direction prior to loading and unloading. Do not attempt to load or unload in severe weather conditions. Preloading, unloading. Prior to starting the pumping operation, always inspect each piece of equipment to ensure it's in working order. Check tanks that you'll be using, as determined by automation or as directed by APC representatives. Equipment integrity connections. Fittings. Valve positions to ensure they're in the appropriate position. Hose. Belly line prior to commencing loading, unloading. If seals are present, numbers should be documented on run tickets. Drivers must place drip pans made of non-arcing material under pumps, engines, or other equipment subject to leaking. Do not use plastic catch pans or metal buckets with a plastic handle. Never load or unload with a leaking connection or fitting. Check your truck tank gauge prior to loading. Ensure your gauge is operating correctly and that the tank is receiving product. If you arrive on location and notice equipment is missing or damaged, please report your findings to the Integrated Operations Center, IOC, or Operations Control Center, OCC, before loading. All vacuum pump exhausts must be hooked up to a vapor recovery system if available. If one is not available, a 20-foot non-collapsible hose extension should be vented downwind. When using cam lock type fitting, use a safety lock, a safety strap, or similar device. All cam lock ears should be in the locked position, in working order, and in good condition with no excessive wear. When moving fluid into a tank or truck, you must be near the pump or discharge valve in case of a release. Loosen the cam lock closest to the product tank and drain the hose, sucking product out of the load hose, then cap or plug the end. Do not allow any hose to drain onto the ground. Do not perform maintenance or service checks of any kind on trucks, tractors, or trailers while loading or unloading. Do not leave hose connected to tanks after unloading or loading fluids. Secure the load line valve and replace the end cap plug and close the environmental pumpkin container. You must always remain outside the truck with your eyes on the transfer while loading or unloading product. After loading, unloading. Once you've completed loading or unloading, ensure all valves are placed back into their original position. Avoid standing or sitting on the tanks. ANADARKO strongly recommends not to open thief hatches in gauge tanks unless authorized by an APC representative. Check all valves to make sure they're in the appropriate position and sealed if required. Document all seal numbers on the run tickets. Use good housekeeping practices around the loading or unloading point. You must complete a walk-around of the location and tank truck prior to leaving. Ensure that all valves are left in the proper position. No valve is leaking. Plugs are in place. All ground wires and hoses are disconnected, and no spills have occurred. Spills. If a spill occurs during loading or unloading, isolate the leak and turn off the truck engine. When safe to do so, notify the IOC or OCC and your ANADARKO supervisor or contact of the release. Report the location, type, and quantity of fluid released. Do not restart the engine until all product has been removed or remediated, or until it's been determined that it's safe to do so from APC personnel. Spill investigations. All releases, regardless of volume, will be investigated. After completing the investigation, the investigator will send findings and recommendations to ANADARKO within 24 hours of incident and will host a follow-up meeting to discuss the findings. Any findings that involve negligence may lead to disciplinary action on the driver and his or her company. Illegal dumping comes with serious consequences, including loss of contract with ANADARKO and legal prosecution. Stop Work Authority. We all have the responsibility to monitor the activities of others to ensure that we all work in a manner that's safe to ourselves and to others on the facility. As an ANADARKO team member or person working on an ANADARKO site, you have a responsibility to correct unsafe conditions immediately when you see them. Everyone on site has Stop Work Authority. This means if you see or feel an activity or situation is not safe, stop work immediately until the situation is rectified and deemed safe. Everyone has an obligation to report every incident immediately to the person in charge, regardless of how insignificant it may seem. You are an important part of doing whatever it takes to fulfill our goal of an incident-free environment for our employees and contractors, visitors, and vendor personnel. Following these procedures will ensure that all fluid transfers are performed safely and in a manner that protects the environment, whether you're an ANADARKO employee or contractor. Once again, welcome to ANADARKO. And remember, the only work worth doing is work done safely.